Trump derangement therapy lessons on full display across the country this weekend, or as Democrats like to call them, No Kings protest, with thousands turning out to defend democracy, as they say.
We are united in our condemnation of this group.
Stay with us. We're not gonna take it.
Touch our elbows, hands in the air.
Peggy Flanagan and Dishnakaz, Gijuevidamakoy Indigo, Guabagag and Ikagdan Dunjaba.
I immigrated from Germany, and so I recognize fascists when I see them.
The problem, this is a group of people who can't even define democracy. An opinion piece from the Wall Street Journal puts it best, saying, what Democrats and leftist activists mean by a transition to democracy is a transition to permanent Democratic Party rule. Joining us now, My View with Lara Trump host Lara Trump and former Trump campaign and transition team senior advisor Jason Miller. Welcome to you both. Lara, I'll start with you. I watched those protests, and my thought is these are lonely, purposeless people. We should pity them. But they're in our streets, and they're making a mess, and sometimes in ways that are very destructive. How do you approach what you see in these No Kings protests?
Yeah, you notice you don't see a lot of conservatives and Republicans out protesting because we're all at work. We all have jobs. And let's be honest, a lot of these people, Brian, are actually being paid. When you trace the money back, it goes all the way back to China in some instances. It's billionaires who are funding this, people who hate America. And a lot of these people, whenever you see them interviewed on the street about what it is they're actually out there doing, can you name one thing that Donald Trump has done, that the Republican Party has done, that would make him a king? They have nothing. They actually may want to look right back at their own party, a party who, by the way, didn't let a single person vote on the candidate they had in 2024, a party who saw the last president, Joe Biden, who ruled by auto pin, telling people, guess what, if you don't get a vaccine, we're going to take your job away. We don't like what you're saying on social media. We're shutting down your account. Are you, part of the Trump team? Are you somehow connected with Donald Trump? We'll send our Department of Justice against you. That seems a lot more like a monarchy, dictatorship, king to me than anything Donald Trump has ever done. But these people have absolutely nothing to grasp onto on the left other than this kind of nonsense, Brian, because we know they have no policies, nothing to put forward, no real party at this point. It's just a lot of nonsense and shenanigans like this.
Jason, the Republicans are going to have a rough time midterms. I don't think that's a stretch to say that, but not if the American voter pays attention to what those lunatics were talking about over the weekend. They are standing up for lawlessness, people who should not be in this country. They are standing up for violence. They are standing up for terrorism. What do they stand for if not for something that is just abhorrent and against the foundational, not only documents, but beliefs of this republic?
Yeah, you're exactly right. And I really feel bad for all of those lonely cats that were at home all alone this weekend while their owners were protesting against President Trump. But I think it's really important that we listen to the exact words the Democrats are saying. When they talk about seizing power, when they talk about going after their political opponents, this isn't just some theoretical spin coming from the Republicans. This is what the Democrats are actually running on. Listen to what Susan Rice, Ruben Gallego, Chris Murphy, what they're all saying. They're talking about weaponizing the political system against their opponents, just like Joe Biden did, just like Barack Obama did. And if, thank goodness, they weren't successful, but just like Hillary Clinton or Kamala Harris would have if, heaven forbid, they had won. So I think we need to hold the media accountable here, because so many of the mainstream media reports were out there cheerleading what the Democrats are doing. But when you see their words, even the signs that you're showing in the B-roll right now, just the hatred, the division, and you're right. the Democrats are going to be motivated going into the midterms. We have to keep this focused on what President Trump has done for our economy to secure our border and make the world a safer place. We got to stay focused on the issues.
Laura, I want to move on to this. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is backing up the Brinks truck in his new whistleblower program as the administration continues its efforts to clean up fraud. Watch.
It's almost like a suitcase in an airport. If you see something, say something. But we are all hands on deck because this is money that is not going to where it's supposed to go, but more importantly, it's being stolen from the American taxpayer. This could be hundreds of billions of dollars in recouped money. And again, the programs are supposed to go to those in need.
Give money to people who help us claw back waste, fraud, and abuse. What do you think?
Absolutely. Well, thank God somebody finally paid attention to this. For so long, I think the American public knew there was so much fraud, waste, and abuse via our United States government, but nobody was willing to do anything about it. In comes President Trump, and like so many other things he does, he finally tackled this. By March of last year, guys, just because of Doge alone, we had saved around $160 billion just because somebody decided to take a look at it. You look to places like Minnesota and the Leering centers and that whole fiasco there, and it wasn't just that this money was fraudulent and it was going to the wrong people. It was going to terrorist organizations in some accounts. And that is highly unacceptable to the American public. So I think this is great. Let's incentivize people to root out more of this. Let's incentivize people to do the right thing. And let's hold those accountable who are perpetuating this, who are the fraudsters, who are the people who are stealing American taxpayer money. For so long, it's kind of just felt like, we're just going to write it off as
Right.
not a big deal. That's our money.
Yeah.
We want it. And thank God somebody's finally paying attention to it.
Jason, the federal government for years, whether it's the Securities and Exchange Commission, the Justice Department, has given whistleblowers a cut of the action. If a criminal is busted and they collect, but there's a guy who's a microbiologist in Wales who busted Dana-Farber for phony cancer research, and he got more than $2 million he got about over $2.5 million. But Secretary Bessent's talking about 30% of the fines. Bring that on.
Exactly. And the one thing that Secretary Bessent knows is how do you catch a rat? With a whole bunch of cheese. And so a way to get rats turning on each other is to give them cheese as well. So Secretary Bessent is setting the rat trap, and I think it's going to snap in a massive, massive way. We already saw what some of the exposés in Minnesota have unturned, whether it be Nick Shirley and some others, as Lara pointed out, the National Leering Center. But now we're taking it nationally, and I think we're going to bring a whole lot of new folks out from the shadows will be able to catch them. One other important group here that I want to make sure that people are tracking, that's transnational gangs. And transnational gangs are really the Michael Jordans of the fraudsters here. Their ability to get in, manipulate people, whether it be with these fraudulent agencies or human trafficking, things of this nature. And Secretary Bessent has said that between 10 and 30% could go to the whistleblowers. That's bigger than we've ever seen before.
Yep.
That, I think, is how you motivate people to go and turn these bad actors in.
Lara Trump, Jason Miller, great stuff. Good to see you. Thanks for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.